How's it going, Fireside Yankees? My name is Alex with my co-host here, Ryan Garcia, and today we want to discuss the potential for DFAing Aroldis Chapman. Joe Sherman of the New York Post reported that there have been conversations in the Yankees front office that maybe DFAing Chapman is the right move right now. Open up a roster spot, make this decision a little bit less difficult, I guess you could say. And at the end of the day, I think that they have better options come the postseason. I don't think Chapman's going to factor in that much, especially after his latest outing against the Boston Red Sox. We wanted to also discuss two players who are getting hot at the right moment ahead of the postseason and why they're going to be an integral piece to the puzzle moving forward. But Ryan, before we dive into Chapman and kind of his numbers, what's going on there? How you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. I look at this team right now, and I think that, they're kind of finally clicking on all cylinders. It's kind of funny to see that, we went from only Aaron Judge hit home runs to everyone but Aaron Judge is hitting home runs right now. But Chapman's a guy where, you look at years past, he's always had a walk issue, kind of, command-wise. We get it. He has nasty stuff. It's kind of hard to command it. But he's always run high strikeout rates, and he's always kept that strikeout to walk rate over 20%. This year, it's 8.9%. That's not just bad. That's way below league average. We're talking, horrific numbers. He's striking out only 26% of batters this year. That's way down from years past. That's his lowest K percentage over any stint ever at any stretch of his career at the major league level. His previous career low was 32.9% in 2017. And he lost his closer job for a little bit, but he still finished the year with a 3.22 ERA and still gave us a postseason where he had a 1.13 ERA. So it wasn't like this was a guy who was, he was bad all year and he was so terrible and the Yankees had to get rid of him, whatever. He bounced back that year, right? This is uncharted territory in terms of struggles for Aroldis Chapman. And there are the factors of age. He's hit the IL more in recent years. We know that they got rid of a lot of the foreign substances, and that might be an issue there. He's getting barreled at a decently high rate. He's not even giving up home runs the rate he was last year, but when you strike out less guys and you walk more guys, it doesn't matter if your home run rate is down a little bit. You're going to continue to give up a lot of runs, and the FIP is worse than the ERA. I've never really saw this for Aroldis Chapman, where the guy's running worse peripherals than his ERA. There's nothing that shows signs of improvement. We talked about before, he was going more fastball heavy, he was getting better results. It seems he's lost that fastball command that he previously was showing a little bit of. As you mentioned, they have better options. I don't see a fit for Aroldis Chapman on the October roster. And just like what they did with Andrew Heaney last year, where you don't need him on the roster. He's a free agent. You just DFA him, right? I don't see any reason why Aroldis Chapman should step on a postseason mound. If we're going to be talking about, Britton shouldn't touch a postseason mound either. Well, why does Chapman deserve to touch it? What has he done all year? I look at Efros, Peralta when he comes back. I look at Marinaccio, Schmidt. I look at, the plethora of guys. I would even argue Abreu or Writings deserve their. I know Abreu's kind of struggled in high leverage, but if I need a guy to eat an inning in the sixth inning with a game, that's the Yankees are up 4-0 or they're down 4-0. I'd rather go with Abreu there than Chapman in any situation because he gives me a better chance of that clean inning and a chance to win than Aroldis Chapman ever will. So what reason should the Yankees keep this guy on the roster, right? Because they're going to have to DFA Abreu if they don't bring him back. So you lose a guy who you have 5 years of control of and is a high risk, high reward guy versus Chapman, who's high risk, high reward, but we don't even know if that reward's that high. And on top of that, you only have him for another month. So not even a month, a couple weeks. So just cut bait, just get rid of him. His time's over in the organization. And I think the writing has been on the wall for quite a bit.
Absolutely. I think you kind of nailed it on the head. His regression has been some of the worst I've seen. Like a guy going from his status to essentially unplayable at times is definitely a polarizing nature that he brings. And right now, I don't think I trust him. You have Scott Efros, as you mentioned, Marinaccio, so many better options. Wandy Peralta is kind of hitting this phantom IL thing to rest out before the playoffs. But Chapman's strikeout rate is down. ERA is way up. XFIP way up. He's just not the same pitcher as he once was, whether that because of spider tack or just maybe regression due to age. Impossible to tell, but the contract's over after this year. You might as well cut bait. And I guess the only argument against it is what happens if he goes to a playoff contending team or a team that's going to be in the postseason, and he gives them all of our secrets. He gives them everything that we, are kind of hoping to keep under wraps for the postseason. I'm sure we have plans. We have strategies. That's the main concern for me is would you rather value the roster spot or would you risk the fact that maybe he goes to Houston or maybe he goes to the Rays and suddenly you're like, oh shit, they know all of what we're trying to do. They know our strategies because Chapman just dove into it. That's my biggest concern. The chances of that happening are low. But I will say, there is always a risk of something like that. Who knows how impactful it would be at the end of the day. But I do want to talk about two other players, right? These guys have been just absolutely fantastic lately. I want to start off with Gleyber Torres because he is well deserving of our attention right now. He's in 312 in the month of September, a 39% on base rate, 6 home runs, including 3 in his last 4 games, 19 RBIs. He had 5 RBIs this past Wednesday against Pittsburgh, and they had 2 on Friday and another one yesterday against the Red Sox. So, 2 hits. He's been just racking up hits. He actually went through a streak where he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He had went on a 10-game hitting streak. He didn't get a hit on Thursday, but he walked twice, and then he picked up the hits again. So he's gotten on base on like 13 consecutive games. The guy is absolutely lethal right now. He's on fire. He's hitting the opposite field home runs again. He looks confident. He's barreling it up. And honestly, his defense has been pretty stellar as well. So this is a guy who is getting hot at the right moment, at the right time. And the Yankees should be ecstatic about this because he's going to lock down that second base spot. It's not a liability. And you don't even have DJ LeMahieu back yet. So, this is a team getting healthier. They're getting better at the right moments. This looks like the old Yankees that we saw in the first half of the year. How are you feeling about Gleyber Torres going into the last 2 weeks of the season?
I feel phenomenal about Gleyber. You mentioned the barrels. He's barreled 11 baseballs in the month of September, 26%. So over a quarter of his barrels have come in the month of September. And he's only had, 87 plate appearances out of 551. So just to do some basic math, that's under 20% of your plate appearances, and over a quarter of your barrels are coming in that time span. That's what you want to see from Gleyber. I think, you look at a guy who's hitting the ball harder. As you mentioned, he's going the other way when he needs to. He's a player who should never be going through these stretches like the ones in August where he just can't hit for power. That's not who Gleyber Torres is. That's not who Gleyber Torres should be. We know I've come to expect more from Gleyber based on what we saw throughout the season because I know he has good power. I know he at least has league average power. And if you want to talk about hitting in big spots, his win probability dipped into the negatives after August. He was, killing the Yankees in big spots. And now he's killing other teams in big spots. His win probability added over 1. So that's a really strong total for just a month. His OPS is creeping towards 1,000 in the month of September. He's gotten his season slash line to where he's a 14% better than league average hitter. And if you told me I was going to get 8 defensive runs saved and a 14% better than league average hitter in Gleyber Torres at second base, I would take it any day of the week. He's given you over 20 home runs this year. He's a great guy to have in that, 5-6 spot when everyone's healthy. You look at that lineup now with, Judge or LeMahieu leading off, Judge hitting second, Rizzo hitting third, Stanton hitting fourth. You can go Gleyber fifth. You can go, look at the rest of that lineup. You have guys like Bader and Trevino, and we'll talk about Cabrera or the guys like that. And even IKF has had a strong month in September. It's like the rest of the lineup is getting better. The rest of the lineup is playing better. This is a deeper lineup. This isn't just the Aaron Judge show. And I think that's an important distinction to make between this team in September and this team, in August.
That's absolutely right. And, talking about, efficiency and production, Oswaldo Cabrera, man, he is making a very good argument that he should be starting in left field. And I think he will be, given Andrew Benintendi is not probably going to be healthy for the first series of the playoffs. He hasn't even started ramping up yet, really. So Oswaldo Cabrera, man, he has turned things around. I mean, in his last 7 days, he is absolutely lethal. He's hitting, let's see here, 350 with a 45.8% on base rate and 900 slugging percentage with a 1.358 OPS. He's been absolutely insane. The guy has just turned things around offensively, and it's been awesome to watch. He's hitting 227 this month with a 31.6% on base rate, but he's been so good. He's hitting home runs. He has 2 homers in his last 4 games. He has 3 homers in his last 6 games. He has 7 RBIs in his last 4 games and 9 in his last 6 games. So, this is a guy who's really picking it up. I mean, look, we've been waiting for him to showcase that offensive quality. The defensive metrics have been there. He is absolutely amazing in left field and right field, wherever you put him. Now it's more about, stringing together consistent performances with the bat in his hands. And I think he's doing that and justifying that we can trust him come the postseason. Now against better teams, maybe it's different. He has been beating up on some bad teams lately. But it's the continuity. He looks confident. You see him in the batter's box. His eyes are just dead focused. Like you feel like he's a veteran. He just gives off those vibes. He's energetic. He brings that spark. I mean, right now, I think the Yankees are like, oh shit, we just walked into a star. Like we just stumbled into a guy who's going to be playing left field for us or right field, depending on what Judge happens in 2022. He should be the starting outfielder there. Benintendi's gone. Aaron Hicks can kick dirt. What are you thinking about about Cabrera right now in terms of his future with the Yankees, but also what he can contribute during the postseason?
Yeah, so Cabreras played really strong defensively in the outfield. We know the utility he has in the infield as well in any situation like that. He's hitting the ball in the air a lot. He's finally barreling the ball up. He's making that consistent contact. He's pulling fly balls, and that's going to lead to a lot of home runs. He's not a guy who's running a very high exit velocity, and even in this hot stretch, it's not like he's running some crazy exit velocity numbers or some crazy hard hit rate numbers. But again, when you're pulling fly balls, you're gonna convert a lot of those non-barrels into home runs. We see, I don't want to compare him to Jose Ramirez because I don't think he's going to be the player Jose Ramirez is. I mean, that's a guy who's going to probably go into the Hall of Fame. But in the same breath, that's a guy who he hits a lot of home runs and a lot of non-barrels. And so the barrel rate isn't necessarily impressive, but the home run totals are always there. Cabrera could be a guy like that where you're going to see a lot of balls that aren't barreled go for home runs. And you'll see, the quality of contact will not be there in terms of, elite power hitters, but you can definitely see him run into 20 plus home runs in a season. He's swinging less. The walk rate has creeped back up to over 9%, kind of where he was at in the minor leagues in the terms of walk percentage and strikeout rate, which is good to see. If he maintains that level, if he continues to get pulled fly balls, if you get consistently gets, some of those to go for extra base hits and home runs. If he continues to play stellar defense, I can see him as a guy who gives me, 10% better than a league average offense and really good defense at a bunch of different positions. And that's a really good player to have on your baseball team. Yankees have never really had, that sort of utility and good offensive value. You look at guys like Ben Zobrist, who were sneaky, really important parts of really good Rays teams and, 2 World Series teams with the Royals and Cubs. Without him, I mean, I don't know if those teams win the World Series. So Cabrera's a glue guy. He's a very good supplemental piece to have. He's already on pace in terms of Fangraphs WAR to finish with, if he would have a full season of sample, he'd be a 3 to 4 win player. According to Baseball Reference, they like him a lot more with like a 6 and 6.5 WAR player, which is kind of crazy to think about. You get a 4-win player out of Cabrera, and you feel pretty good about the development of Cabrera there. And he's an upgrade over what you've gotten, as you mentioned, with Hicks. Benintendi being down, this is huge for the Yankees to have Cabrera giving them a very good month of September, and hopefully continues it, because all he's got to do is hit a couple home runs here and there in October for the Yankees to have a little bit of a push and get themselves past, teams like Houston or Seattle or the Rays or the Blue Jays, and put themselves finally in the World Series for the first time in over a decade.
Absolutely. But guys, I'd love to hear your perspectives below. Thoughts on Chapman DFAing him, thoughts on Gleyber Torres, of course, thoughts on Oswaldo Cabrera. These guys are stepping up. Chapman, obviously, not so much. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on DFAing him. Do you think it's worthwhile? Do you think they should do it? What do you think the risks are? Always happy to hear your perspectives below in the YouTube comments. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe. Enjoy football today. Enjoy baseball today. We got a lot of great sports going on right now. Basketball is about to start up. This is golden hour for sports fans. This is exactly what we've been waiting for. The trifecta of sports coming together. This is awesome. I couldn't be happier to be sharing with all of you guys. So appreciate that. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, my friends. Enjoy the holidays if you are celebrating. And I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Make sure to like and subscribe as always. We'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.